There is a quiet strength in what you choose not to share. We live in a world that constantly asks us to perform, to post, to prove, to explain ourselves. Every moment, every emotion, every milestone is invited onto a public stage, and somewhere along the way, many of us began to believe that visibility equals value. But today, I want to offer you a different truth. Your privacy is not weakness. It is power. Privacy is the sacred space where your dreams are born before the world can judge them. It's where your healing happens without commentary. It's where you can fail, grow, rethink, and rise without an audience demanding instant results. When everything is shared, nothing is protected. But when something is protected, it grows roots. Think about the most meaningful transformations of your life. They didn't happen under applause. They happened in silence, in reflection, in moments when no one was watching but you were listening to your intuition, your values, your inner voice. Privacy gives you clarity. Privacy gives you peace. Privacy gives you control over your own story. You don't owe the world constant access to your journey. You don't need validation to be valuable. Some chapters are meant to be read by you alone. Some victories are sweeter when they are whispered, not announced. When you keep parts of your life private, you are saying, I trust myself. I don't need permission to grow. I know the difference between connection and exposure. Go make privacy your superpower. Use it to protect your energy. Use it to sharpen your focus. Use it to build a life that feels good on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside. Because when you finally step into the light, you won't be seeking approval. You'll be standing in your truth. And that is real power. In a world that celebrates constant sharing, constant visibility, and relentless comparison, the concept of privacy is often misunderstood. Many people assume that keeping aspects of your life private is a sign of weakness, insecurity, or fear. Yet, nothing could be further from the truth. Privacy, when embraced intentionally, becomes a profound source of inner strength, resilience, and emotional clarity. It is the space where your mind can reflect, your heart can heal, and your spirit can grow away from the pressures and judgments of the outside world. When we talk about inner strength, we are not just referring to physical endurance or mental toughness. True inner strength is cultivated in silence. It is built in moments when no one is watching, when we confront our fears, acknowledge our weaknesses, and make decisions rooted in our own values rather than societal expectations. Privacy allows us to engage deeply with ourselves, to understand our motivations, our dreams, and our limitations without distraction. In this sacred space, we learn to trust our own voice, to listen to our intuition, and to make choices based on what truly matters to us. Keeping certain aspects of life private protects our energy. Constant exposure to the opinions, judgments, and reactions of others can fragment our focus and drain our emotional reserves. When we share too much too often, we risk becoming dependent on external validation. We begin to measure our worth based on likes, comments, and superficial recognition. Privacy liberates us from this dependency. It allows us to cultivate self-confidence that is unshakable because it is grounded in our own understanding of our value, rather than in the fleeting approval of others. Furthermore, privacy creates a space for reflection and learning. In moments of solitude, away from the expectations of others, we can examine our experiences with honesty and compassion. Mistakes can be acknowledged without shame. Successes can be celebrated quietly, fostering gratitude rather than pride. We are free to experiment, to fail, to recess, and to grow in ways that are authentic. This kind of growth, nurtured in private, becomes more resilient because it is not contingent on the approval or scrutiny of others. It is growth that is owned entirely by us. Privacy also strengthens emotional resilience. Life is filled with challenges, disappointments, and moments of vulnerability. Sharing every difficulty with the world can sometimes amplify stress, create unnecessary pressure, or invite opinions that confuse rather than guide us. By keeping certain matters private, we learn to manage our emotions independently. We become capable of navigating struggles with poise, making decisions from a place of calm and clarity, and emerging stronger. Over time, this practice builds a psychological foundation that is unshakable because it is rooted in self-reliance and self-respect. Finally, embracing privacy empowers us to define our own narrative. When we are not constantly performing for an audience, we have the freedom to live authentically. we can explore who we truly are, pursue our goals with intention, and create a life that aligns with our values. This form of inner strength is quiet yet unyielding. It does not need applause to validate it. It does not seek attention to affirm it. It simply exists, powerful and unwavering, as a testament to the human ability to grow, thrive, and shine on one's own terms. In conclusion, privacy is far more than a shield from intrusion. It is a wellspring of inner strength, a foundation for self-awareness, and a sanctuary for personal growth. By protecting our private space, we nurture resilience, cultivate clarity, and build a confidence that no external force can diminish. Privacy is not weakness. It is a superpower. In a world that thrives on constant visibility, likes, shares, and comments, it is easy to fall into the trap of believing that everything we do must be witnessed, acknowledged, and validated. From social media updates to professional accomplishments, from personal milestones to private joys, there is a persistent pressure to announce, to document, and to showcase. Yet, the truth is, not everything we experience in life requires an audience, and understanding this is essential to cultivating true peace, authenticity, and personal growth. When we constantly seek validation from others, we risk losing touch with our own intuition and inner compass. The opinions of the world are fleeting, subjective, and often influenced by trends, biases, and judgments that have nothing to do with our real value or purpose. If we allow our actions to be dictated by what others might think, we diminish our freedom and compromise our authenticity. Some achievements are meant to be celebrated quietly, in the privacy of our hearts, rather than in public forums. Some decisions are meant to be made based on reflection, not applause. Recognizing that not everything needs an audience allows us to create a space where our true selves can emerge, without distraction, without pressure, and without the distortion of external opinions. Private moments are often the most transformative. They are the times when we can think deeply, feel fully, and act intentionally. When no one is watching, we can experiment, make mistakes, learn, and evolve without fear of judgment. This freedom is priceless because it allows us to focus on what truly matters rather than performing for approval or recognition. It is in these private moments that creativity flourishes, relationships deepen, and resilience is built. By keeping certain aspects of our life shielded from the audience, we give ourselves the gift of uninterrupted growth and reflection. Furthermore, choosing privacy over exposure is not a rejection of connection. Rather, it is a conscious decision to protect our energy and maintain balance. Sharing everything publicly can dilute the meaning of our experiences, as constant visibility often comes with noise, distraction, and sometimes even criticism. When we are selective about what we share, each revelation carries more weight, more authenticity, and more significance. Our stories remain powerful because they are deliberate, intentional, and meaningful. The discipline of keeping parts of our lives private also teaches patience, self-respect, and discernment. It reminds us that our value is not determined by external recognition, but by the integrity of our actions and the depth of our experiences. It encourages us to invest in personal growth for its own sake, rather than for applause. Over time, this mindset builds confidence and self-reliance because we learn that we do not need an audience to validate our worth or measure our success. Ultimately, embracing the idea that not everything needs an audience is a declaration of self-mastery. It is a commitment to living intentionally, valuing substance over spectacle, and prioritizing inner fulfillment over external approval. When we internalize this principle, we free ourselves from the pressure of constant performance, from the anxiety of comparison, and from the fleeting need for recognition. We reclaim our lives as our own, cultivating depth, authenticity, and genuine joy. In conclusion, understanding that not everything requires an audience is a cornerstone of privacy as a superpower. It is a recognition that our lives belong to us first, and that true growth, creativity, and happiness often thrive away from the spotlight. By honoring this principle, we protect our energy, nurture our souls, and ultimately build a life of meaning that cannot be defined or diminished by anyone else. One of the most important aspects of living a meaningful and empowered life is understanding that protecting yourself is not selfish, but necessary. In a world that often glorifies oversharing, exposure, and constant availability, choosing to protect your personal space, your thoughts, and your experiences is a profound act of self-respect. When you set boundaries around what you share and with whom, you are sending a clear message to yourself and to the world that your life, your energy, and your emotions have value. Protection begins with awareness. It requires knowing your limits, understanding your priorities, and recognizing the difference between connection and overexposure. By being mindful of what you allow into your inner circle, you safeguard your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. This is not about isolating yourself or rejecting the world. It is about creating a safe space where your growth is nurtured, your vulnerabilities are honored, and your energy is preserved. When you protect yourself, you are saying that you are worth the effort it takes to maintain your peace, dignity, and integrity. Self-respect through protection also means being selective with your trust. Not everyone deserves access to your personal life, your thoughts, or your feelings. Some people may unintentionally drain your energy, while others may deliberately manipulate it. By establishing boundaries and keeping certain aspects of your life private, you reduce the risk of exploitation, judgment, or misunderstanding. Protection, therefore, becomes a shield that allows you to engage with the world on your own terms rather than being pulled into situations that compromise your well-being. Moreover, protecting yourself reinforces your sense of autonomy. When you control what you reveal, when you reveal it, and to whom, you take ownership of your story. You are no longer dependent on external validation, praise, or acknowledgement to define your worth. Instead, your self-respect grows from within, rooted in the knowledge that your life is yours to live and that your choices are yours to make. This inner confidence is far more powerful than any approval or recognition from others because it cannot be shaken by opinions or criticism. The act of protection also cultivates focus and intention. When you choose not to expose every thought, feeling, or success, you are able to dedicate your energy to what truly matters. You are free to pursue your goals without distraction, to nurture your relationships with care, and to invest in personal growth without interruption. Privacy becomes a tool that strengthens your ability to think deeply, act wisely, and live authentically. By protecting what is precious, you create space for purpose, clarity, and fulfillment. Ultimately, protection is a declaration of self-worth. It is a conscious choice to prioritize your well-being over the fleeting need for approval, attention, or validation. It reminds you that your life is sacred, that your time is valuable, and that your energy deserves to be guarded. By making protection a practice, you reinforce the idea that respecting yourself is not negotiable, and that your boundaries are a reflection of the love and care you hold for yourself. In conclusion, understanding that protection is a form of self-respect transforms the way you interact and grow. It empowers you to navigate the world with confidence, to set boundaries without guilt, and to cultivate a life that honors your dignity and worth. When you protect yourself, you are not withdrawing from life. You are stepping into it fully, with clarity, intention, and unwavering self-respect. In a world that celebrates instant results, constant updates, and public achievements, it is easy to overlook the incredible power of quiet growth. True transformation, the kind that reshapes your character, deepens your wisdom, and strengthens your resilience, often happens away from the spotlight, without applause or recognition. Quiet growth is subtle, patient, and enduring. It is the work done behind the scenes, the moments of reflection, practice, and learning that are unseen by others but profoundly felt within. Quiet growth begins with introspection. It requires taking the time to examine your thoughts, your habits, and your intentions without external distraction. This is where you confront your fears, acknowledge your weaknesses, and celebrate your small victories. It is in these private moments that real self-improvement takes root. Unlike growth that is performed for an audience, quiet growth is genuine. It does not rely on validation or comparison. It is fueled purely by your desire to become the best version of yourself. One of the reasons quiet growth is so powerful is that it allows for experimentation without judgment. When no one is watching, you can try new approaches, take calculated risks, and learn from mistakes without fear of criticism. This freedom encourages creativity, innovation, and adaptability. You can test ideas, explore possibilities, and push boundaries, knowing that failure is not a spectacle but a stepping stone. The lessons learned in solitude are often deeper and more enduring because they are internalized rather than performed for approval. Quiet growth also fosters resilience. Life presents challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt, and how we respond to them shapes our strength. When you grow quietly, you develop the inner resources to face adversity without seeking immediate recognition or sympathy. You learn to trust yourself, to rely on your own judgment, and to persevere even when the world is unaware of your struggles. This resilience becomes a foundation for future success because it is built on authenticity rather than appearances. Furthermore, quiet growth cultivates humility and gratitude. When achievements are not constantly broadcasted, you develop a deeper appreciation for the journey itself rather than the applause it may generate. You recognize that progress is incremental and that the process matters more than external validation. This mindset allows you to celebrate the small steps, to honor your own efforts, and to remain grounded even as you achieve greatness. Humility gained through quiet growth enhances your relationships, your decision-making, and your ability to lead with empathy and integrity. Finally, quiet growth ensures sustainability. Growth performed for public consumption is often fragile, dependent on the approval and attention of others. Quiet growth, by contrast, is lasting. It is rooted in self-awareness, discipline, and intentionality. The skills, habits, and wisdom cultivated in private carry over into every aspect of life, allowing you to navigate personal and professional challenges with confidence and clarity. Over time, this kind of growth compounds, producing results that are not only impressive but deeply meaningful. In conclusion, understanding that quiet growth is often the strongest is essential to living a life of purpose and authenticity. By embracing the unseen work, the private efforts, and the deliberate practice, you cultivate strength, resilience, and wisdom that cannot be measured by likes, applause, or recognition. Quiet growth reminds us that true power is internal, that lasting transformation happens in silence, and that the most meaningful progress is often invisible to the world, yet profoundly evident in who we become. One of the most empowering actions you can take in life is to control your own narrative. In an era where opinions are abundant, information travels rapidly, and judgments are often formed before the full story is known, choosing to define your own story is a radical and transformative act. Controlling your narrative means taking ownership of your life, your experiences, and your choices, rather than allowing external forces, public perception, or societal expectations to dictate who you are or what you value. To control your narrative, you first need self-awareness. This begins with understanding your values, your goals, and the principles that guide your life. When you are clear about who you are and what you stand for, you can make conscious decisions about what to share, what to protect, and how to present yourself to the world. Without this awareness, it is easy to be influenced by external voices, trends, or pressures which can lead to a fragmented identity or a life lived for others instead of for yourself. Privacy plays a critical role in controlling your narrative. By deciding what to reveal and what to keep private, you maintain authority over your story. Not every thought, feeling, or achievement needs to be broadcasted. Some chapters of your life are meant to unfold quietly, allowing you to grow, reflect, and evolve without interference. This intentional discretion ensures that your story is told on your terms, in your own timing, and with your own voice. It is a powerful reminder that authenticity cannot exist without boundaries, and that protection of your personal life is essential to maintaining the integrity of your narrative. Controlling your narrative also means resisting the temptation to explain yourself unnecessarily. When you feel the need to justify every decision or action, you give away your power to those who may not understand your journey. Instead, focus on living in alignment with your values, making decisions that feel right to you, and letting your actions speak for themselves. Over time, your consistency and authenticity will communicate far more than constant explanation ever could. The less you seek validation from others, the stronger and more confident your narrative becomes. Another key aspect of controlling your narrative is embracing the lessons learned from past experiences. Life is rarely linear, and challenges, failures, and setbacks are inevitable. But by reframing these experiences as opportunities for growth, rather than moments of shame or regret, you reclaim your story from negativity or external judgment. Every choice, every mistake, and every triumph contributes to your unique narrative, and by taking ownership of it, you transform even difficulties into powerful testimonies of resilience, courage, and perseverance. Finally, controlling your narrative allows you to define your legacy, the story you choose to tell, the values you live by, and the boundaries you set create the foundation for how you are remembered and the impact you leave on the world. By protecting your privacy, prioritizing your growth, and living intentionally, you ensure that your narrative reflects your true self rather than a distorted version shaped by others' expectations or opinions. In conclusion, controlling your narrative is one of the most profound ways to exercise your personal power. It requires self-awareness, intentionality, and a commitment to protecting your privacy. By owning your story, resisting external pressures, and embracing your experiences as part of your journey, you create a life that is authentic, purposeful, and deeply empowering. The narrative you control is the one that shapes your destiny, strengthens your identity, and allows you to live fully, unapologetically, and in alignment with your truth. As we reflect on the power of privacy, one truth becomes clear: protecting your personal space, your thoughts, and your experiences is not a retreat from life. It is a step into your highest potential. Privacy is not weakness, it is strength. It allows you to grow quietly, think deeply, and act intentionally. It gives you clarity, resilience, and control over your own story. When you honor your privacy, you honor yourself. You build inner strength, protect your energy, and preserve the authenticity of your journey. You learn that not everything requires an audience, that self-respect is expressed through boundaries, and that real growth often happens away from the spotlight. You understand that controlling your narrative is not about secrecy. It is about empowerment, about living on your own terms, and about choosing which parts of your story are shared and which remain sacred. Make privacy your superpower. Use it to protect your dreams, nurture your soul, and sharpen your focus. In a world that constantly demands visibility, choose to preserve the parts of your life that matter most. Let your victories, your lessons, and your growth unfold with intention. Remember, the greatest power comes not from what the world sees, but from what you cultivate in the quiet moments when no one is watching. Stand in your truth. Protect your energy, and live a life defined by authenticity, purpose, and unwavering self-respect. Your privacy is your superpower. Guard it, embrace it, and let it guide you to your fullest, most empowered life.